Good morning, everybody. Welcome to IT Live, and it's brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. You can see by that overlay I just changed. And we are here to talk about, we got a lot of positive news out of this spring, but there's still some questions that we potentially want answered. So we're going to discuss those. And then Paul did a great piece yesterday talking part of his Stock Up, Stock Down series where he covered the Oklahoma Sooners. We'll see how they are looking. But before we do such a thing, head over to Inside Texas. Right now, we still have the spring sale going on. 50% off for our board, On3 for national news, and then Rivals for national recruiting. We'd absolutely love to see you over there. Link in the description. Good morning, Roaster. All right, Paul. Like I said, positive spring so far, which is nice to hear. But let's kind of sort through it. And there's some things that aren't even related. They might have been things I didn't hear about at all. So that'll be a big factor. Ryan Nelson will absolutely hit this. This is an excellent Paul question that we will get to in a little bit. My first thing is, how do injuries play? So we had Manning basically out, Ty Anthony Smith out early on, wide receivers like Wingo, Mosley. We had Gooseby out. So the word stocks is traumatizing right now. Yeah, it's been fun. Where are you kind of at? How do you even parse this? Whenever we hear about the wide receivers, I'm like, well, yeah, but Arch. If you hear about Colin Simmons demolishing the line, yeah, but Gooseby. How do you sort through this with all your wisdom, Paul?
Well, it's difficult to sort through without especially not having eyes on because, one of the problems with this, even a spring game, is the idea of the zero sum.
Right.
But you can see the quality of the zero sum, meaning, so I guess the issue I have with the spring games are worthless crowd is, can you tell the difference between a 2021 Texas spring game and a 2026 Texas spring game?
Right.
Can you tell the difference in talent overall, even though there's a zero sum happening on the field? Like a Texas player is winning and a Texas player is getting beat. I agree. However, it looks a lot different when it's Cam Coleman beating Samari Matthews, and Samari Matthews is moving like, a college senior stride and stride, and Cam Coleman jumps up and one-hands it, right?
Exactly.
That looks a lot different than me looking at our edge room in 2021 going, there's literally not a starter in our edge room. Like, right. Forget like depth. We don't have starters. Like our depth chart should be empty at edge and start with the second team, right? Yeah. So there's an absolute value and an absolute level of football quality. And then there's the relative level. The relative level is the zero sum game, spring game, criticism that people make. But then there's an absolute level. So if I could watch, Siani at right tackle go against Umeozulu, Colin Simmons, Lance Jackson, then I have a really good idea how good he is because I know how good those other guys are. So hopefully that makes sense. So what do we make of it without eyes on? I don't know because frankly, here's my confession. I don't trust anyone. I really don't. Unless I see it myself, I don't trust secondhand, third-hand practice reports. And I've got friends, and you guys know who you are. God bless you. I love you guys. But I've got, some people that I know who can actually attend practices, right? And they'll come back, and they're not necessarily football guys. So they'll give me these half-jumbled reports that I have to try to parse through and, figure out what they're actually saying. And some of these guys will be like, Trey Newton looks fantastic. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. He looks like Trey Newton. You need to relax. And also, frankly, a lot of people haven't been around Division I football players. Those dudes are freaking huge.
They're all impressive. Now you have to layer the impressiveness. They're all incredible. Yeah.
It's hard to sort out. If you watch a guy who's Texas good, if you watch Kalik Lockett run around, and all you've ever done is, watch some games on TV and you watch high school football in person because your son plays, and you see him at field level, you're like, oh my God, this guy, oh my God, how does anyone cover him? Well, the answer is all of them are that good, right? Yeah. So that's the other thing you've got to sort through. So the answer, this is the long-winded answer to all of this is, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think you made the biggest point. So it's it's not just someone's winning and losing. It's well, how are they losing? Yes. So let's do Colin Simmons versus Siani. if Siani's technique is impeccable, Colin Simmons is just a special human being, then I wash my hands. If Siani's crossing his feet and tripping over himself, and so Colin can just lightly walk to the quarterback, that's a huge difference. And there's little things that should always be the same. The O-line should always play with good technique. The wide receiver should always run good routes. It doesn't matter if it's a spring game or not. And so if you're not seeing those things, they're not going to suddenly turn it on in games. So that's a big factor that worries me. And so there's levels to it, and there are things you can understand from a spring game in that regard. That's what I'm looking for is just technique and coaching. But we're not really doing that. We're kind of doing an open practice, which means Eric says, it's likely their practice. There will be like some scrimmage elements, right? There's probably going to be like red zone lockout, these kind of things. So you'll see like 11 on 11, but also it won't be televised. So you're not going to see it anyways. So unless something changed in this past week. So that's what's really difficult there because I would love to see it. I can't go to the spring game because I have to monitor all the videos and stuff like that. So it's like that's the bummer part because I would love to piece through it. Anything I can glean, but I don't think we're going to get that necessarily unless you're there.
Well, we need to get someone freaking videoing some stuff. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's the
I'm not
big
trusting the so and so looked amazing. I was there reports.
Yeah, you have to really decipher. So, how does Eric decipher what's real in program propaganda? Years of experience, having multiple sourcing, like bouncing them off of each other, that kind of thing. It's like trying to get a historical account of something that no one was at. It's like, let's get what did this side say? What did this side say? What did the neutral observer say? What did this? And then you try to triangulate. Okay, hey, these things are overlapping. That kind of things. It's definitely an art. But that's going to be the bigger factor. There's some things that I do tend to trust, and it's based staff by staff by staff. When they say like a freshman looks really good, I believe them because generally that's come to fruition in the season.
Yeah.
So there's little things like that I just go off your track record of like you've been right about this more than you've been wrong about this, even if it's Sark saying it at a presser. And there's other things that Sark might say that I go, I don't know. I've heard you say that every year, and I haven't seen that on the field, so I might just discount X thing. So that's kind of the tricky part. I mean, ultimately, you won't know until there's a mad person across the line trying to kill you. But that is the tricky part of spring ball, and I'm bummed once again we won't see some televised version of it.
I tend to agree, sir.
Let's talk about some specific things that occurred in spring ball that are still questions I have, and then you can tell me if you think they're solved or if we should continue to ponder. So we've heard a kind of it's been mixed, but overall just kind of a lack of the deep ball. Occasionally, every week or something where like, hey, this person caught a fade. But we haven't heard of lack of the deep ball. Now there's two factors here that I think are big. Arch has been out. That's probably big. Number two, we've played a lot of too high safety stuff, so that's going to discourage the deep ball. And I'll give you a third. Here's a bonus one, guys, for you guys. Free, totally free of charge. Practice is not the same as a game, meaning that you don't have a stretch where you can run the ball 50 times to force the safety down and make them do what you want. The plays are generally scripted on what they're going to practice. Also, the defense learns the offensive routes. If it's a deep ball or a play action, I said yesterday, they're going to run two routes. They're going to run a fade or they're going to run a post. And so if they break on the post, it's easy to go run to where they're going to be. So you don't get a true simulation in that regard. So maybe that's why we're getting a lot of interceptions. Maybe it's the young quarterbacks, but lack of deep ball, especially when we were kind of like, hey, man, we finally got deep ball guys. What's going on there, Paul?
We're also not running our stuff, right? I mean, Sark's favorite way to get deep is an over route.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're getting the time to throw those kinds of slower developing routes with Gooseby out.
I was going to say, yeah. And then what does that mean for offensive line, right?
So I think that's the other part too, is schematically Muschamp's whole thing is we don't give up deep balls. If you're going to hit a deep ball, it's got to be a fade outside the hash marks. And you've got to win. Like you've got to defeat the corner right on the sideline. So Tennessee, historically, has done a very good job of actually doing that against Georgia, right? But it cools down quickly. Georgia adjusts to it. But also Tennessee throws those routes about 100 times a day. So,
Right.
it's built into the offense. So, yeah, we're not going to see a lot of that. Sark's also saving his stuff. Like, he's not going to do a lot of his get open deep stuff right now. He's going to save that till fall camp, late fall camp. And then we might not even see it until Ohio State. We're not going to see it against Texas State. So I'm not too concerned about it. They also are trying to work on Cam Coleman being a more complete receiver. So they don't want him to just run deep stuff. They want him to run crossers. They want him to, one of the things I really like Cam Coleman, but one of the criticisms I did have of him is the rare moments where it wasn't a stop, a hitch or a go.
Very rare moments.
He would jump in the air unnecessarily.
That's a big thing for him. He goes up and gets it, whether he has to go up and get it.
Yeah, and that, by the way, that's if you coach youth football as I do. Oh my God, every kid wants to moss people.
Yep.
So a ball will be right here, and they'll leap in the air to
catch it on their stomach. Yep.
And it's like, dude, if you guys jump for another catchable ball, I swear to God, I'm going to go old school coach.
It destroys Yak. It
We're
destroys
Yak.
Yak.
Run the rest of practice. If any of you does this again, I'm going nuts. Like, yeah, and it destroys Yak. So if a ball's right here, catch it on the run and keep going. Don't freaking jump in the air because everyone goes, ooh. Like, God, it drives me crazy. So, yeah, he's got to work on that. He's got to work some of the refining his skills. That's why he's at Texas. Like, he had more money and better offers at other schools. He's here to be coached by Sark and to get passes thrown to him by Arch Manning in a good offense where there's other weapons and he's not just the guy. So that's, I think, the other part of this reason as well. I am not concerned about it. I'm really not.
Cool. Yeah, it's not one that I'm freaked out by either. I worry that if teams take away Cam, our offense will bog down in SC play. Sark needs to prove it. So here's the thing. They will try to do that. But we needed all the counter pieces in place, which on paper we have, right? So it's like if they try to take away Cam with too high, which you can do. We took away Jeremiah Smith. You can do it. But now, who's your number 2? And can he get the ball? Can Carnell Tate get the ball? I'm not saying Wingo's Carnell Tate, but is Wingo that number 2 that is now a threat? Also, okay, they're too high. Do we have running backs that can make them pay for not loading the box?
Yep.
And if you do that enough, then you get them down. So it's not so much are they going to try to take away Cam Coleman? Like they sure are. It's just do we have the second and third order effects to make them pay for that? And that's what I hope we have.
Agreed.
Good. I'm glad. It's way better than when you disagree. All right. I'll get to yours in a second, Drew. I think you mentioned linebacker, so I want to talk that. Linebacker order, just trying to figure that out. So I'm on record as questions about the linebacker room. I think there's a lack of depth on paper there and then a size thing. But I'm not even worried about that anymore. Just trying to figure out how it's going to work. So we've heard about Biles. I assume Biles is your starting will. But we did hear a lot about Atkinson, both first in kind of the early Anthony Hill phase of like a point and shoot blitzer. But then I was talking to Eric, and I think it was on the show. Yeah, it was on the show. That Atkinson was getting reps at Mike, and they think he's going to be your future Mike next year. I don't think he's going to be your Mike this year, but you're seeing versatility there. We hear Juice Cryer got a lot of starting reps there. Anthony Smith's been out. Is he going to start? Paul, solve this for me. Figure it out right now. Give me clarity.
So we'll know this in the fall when Anthony Smith is back.
Right.
But Atkinson is going to be first fast linebacker off the bench. So we're going to have our linebackers divided up into chasers and pluggers. Spence and Cryer, pluggers. Biles and Smith, chasers. And Atkinson is your third chaser. When we run certain fronts to keep the linebackers clean, we can have multiple chasers out there. When we're running fronts where we're trying to get our defensive linemen loose and the linebackers have to step up and take on a lineman, then that's when Cryer and Spence are going to be out there with one chaser. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Yeah, situationally. That's going to be the key. On short yardage, hey, throw in Juice Cryer. But that's a question I have of just how's that room going to shake out?
So we basically have 5 linebackers, 2 spots in 90% of our defenses. We may have some 3-3 looks, but I actually think the offset third guy will be Colin Simmons.
Yeah.
And they're going to be lining him up off the ball to basically blitz him. And what it's going to do is, so what's going to happen is when people are game planning Colin Smith, they're going to be like, okay, we're going to have a tight end over here. He's going to help the left tackle, the running back. As you release, if Colin Simmons is going hard upfield, I want you to put a hand on him as you do. Blah blah blah. All these rules for Colin Simmons. They come out, and then Colin Simmons is lined up off the ball on the strong side. And they're like,
well, and Muschamp, if you last week, so that quote, Joe just had a piece on it. But Muschamp was like, look, he's really slippery in the rush. We got to force him into the rush. So that's good. That eases some of the worries of like mid front Colin Simmons not being fully utilized. That's great. Yeah. And they also said the same thing. Because he's such a dynamic player, they don't want you to know where he's going to be. So he mentioned off-ball linebacker. He mentioned moving him throughout the line. So all of these things. So Colin Simmons is going to be, what was it with Knowles? Was it his Leo player at Oklahoma State, where it's like you never knew he was going to be? He was just an add-on traveling linebacker. So I think you're 100% right that they're going to find ways for Colin Simmons to be used in unique situations.
Well, and one of Simmons' problems, it's almost like the Joseph Osai problem, right? Because he's good at everything, there's a tendency for defensive coordinator then to use him as like the solve for something in a defense that doesn't use him the most effective and damaging way. So remember, if you guys remember Joseph Osai, they were like, he's so athletic, he can carry a running back up the sideline. And it's like, cool.
He can.
Like doing other stuff, but great. I'm glad he can do that when needed. Let's not scheme the defense so he's doing that all the time, because then offenses can take him out of the game, right?
Yeah.
Simmons is a much better player than Joseph Osai, and I love Joseph Osai. But let's not use him as this Swiss Army knife glue guy when his best thing is ears back going after the passer. Now, you got to mix it up. You can't just, if they can't just know that he's going to be doing the same.
Right. It can't just be tight end and tackle on Simmons every play.
Yeah. But if we can move him around, if we can line him up off the ball, I mean, there's times when we could line him up at Mike and just have him sprint up to the line of scrimmage right before the snap and take a gap.
Yep.
Good freaking luck to you if you're a guard and center and you're trying to like get a piece of that freaking guy flashing through that. I mean, that's brutal. Or God help you if we scheme it a little bit and we have a little TE stunt, Simmons is on a slight delay and now a running back is picking him up the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, that guy's getting trucked. So yeah, I mean, we got to be smart. I'm fairly confident Muschamp understands that. People are throwing around like Micah Parsons. I think that's a good comp for Simmons. I mean, I think that really is a good comp, especially at the college level. Just have him play football, have him play destructive force position. Like, let's not worry about, roping him in with a bunch of responsibilities. But that said, Simmons is so freaking good and he plays so hard. Like, how many times have you seen him take an inside move on a tackle and it's a sweep and he stops, puts the brakes on, spins out, reverses, and goes and makes the play on the sweep?
Yeah, we talked about it on with Drew and Jet that like he'll do things that are technically incorrect.
Yes.
Like they're not taught to do that.
No.
But he's doing a different thing to where you're almost like, well, I can't coach you like a normal player because you're not a normal player.
Well,
so he does
not
weird
just that
stuff.
He's so talented. He plays so hard. And that's such a rare combination in football.
Yeah.
Because a lot of really talented guys are kind of too cool for school.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, I'm taking this play off. I know what play this is. It's a halfback screen to the other side. Colin Simmons is like, I'm going to run that running back down 30 yards across the field and strip him from behind. Like, that's his goal. And most talented edge guys are like, play's going the other side. Let me rest up.
Yeah.
Like, that's not Simmons' mentality. So, when you get that like he has like a walk-on scrappy guy mentality, but in the body of Adonis.
Yeah,
so,
it doesn't make sense, his effort level. And you'll just see him like chase on all 22, you'll see him like 20 yards downfield going after a running
all
back.
the time.
Yeah, like he does not stop. A lot of D linemen are like, my rep is done and I will stay here. Does Muschamp allow for that in his defense? Will he let Colin do that from what you guys have seen? So two things. Muschamp literally last week said he's going to do this. So he was like, hey, we're going to move him around. He'll be at off ball sometimes. So I think on third down packages, they're going to get really creative. And if you remember, Georgia would kill us on those because they would start moving Jalen Walker around and doing weird stuff. So yeah, they absolutely will do that. And they'll create situations for Colin Simmons. So yeah, we will see Simmons used in unique ways, particularly I think in third down, third and long pass rushing situations.
Well, and another part that makes him so effective is one of the things that you worry about with a size mismatch. Say you play Colin Simmons over a tackle for like a different look to use his quickness. You're like, man, he's going to get mashed in the run game if this is a run. If it's like one of those 3rd and 7 surprise runs, right?
Right.
He's so freaking slippery and he plays so hard. Even the dude outweighing him by 80 pounds doesn't matter because he'll break down the guy's arms, spin move in the run game,
Correct.
and then end up in the gap. And you're like, this isn't fair. Like, you should actually be able to bully this guy. Like, it doesn't work because he's just too athletic.
I did a Colin Simmons breakdown where I went through 4 games, broke down everything, like run and pass. And I was like, look, the only thing you can do to Colin Simmons in my head is jump set him, meaning that instead of like pass rushing him and moving backwards, you just run block him even in the pass. And so I was like, that's what you got to do, Colin Simmons. I'm watching it on tape. He's just teleporting around dudes when they try to do that. And then whenever pullers are coming, you're like, okay, I'm going to run counter at Colin Simmons and I'm going to take a guard running at full speed. And because he's not huge, I'm going to smack him. Same thing. He just olays them and gets around him. So he uses all these pass rushing moves, regardless if it's a pass rush or not. And so everything I was checking off, like how to attack Colin Simmons, and he was answering every single question as I was going throughout the tape. He's a good player, man. He's a good player.
In the chat, Sugar Poppy says, Miata attitude in a Ferrari. That's great. I would modify that. I'd say Ford F-150 attitude in a Ferrari.
Yeah. All right. I got some more questions. But before we talk about those, let's hear a word from Academy.
Oh, it's an auto worm bite, turns out.
Giant. Oh, it's a giant.
It's a giant, so.
Oh, it's a giant! Oh, it's a giant! It's a giant!
So I was walking around my house the other day, and I found myself humming. Bah, 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 bah,
yeah, dude, those music. So I used to work for a Universal Music Group subsidiary, and they would do like production music for like shows and stuff. But I can't remember the number. But a guy did the, remember when Yahoo had like the yodeling Yahoo, that thing? He made millions of dollars just coming up with Yahoo, and it worked, man. Like, it's crazy. Those little jingles, like O'Reilly's, like the jingles are corny sometimes, but they absolutely work. They're an effective
I hope the
tool.
Cars for Kids guy is destitute and bankrupt.
Yeah, but yeah, the best ones are like those 3 are, homesick 2 p.m. infomercial ones.
O'Reilly.
They get stuck in your head. It works, man. It really does. All right, so we already talked about some of the freshmen and Tyler Atkinson. So we've heard 3 names consistently, even starting spring through spring. For Atkinson, a ton. We heard Bishop a ton, and then Cooper the
4
most.
names.
Who's the 4th one?
Samari Matthews.
Oh, yeah, of course. Samari Matthews getting picks. So we've heard these 4 names a ton. Is this we are paying these kids a lot, so we are going to talk about them? Or is it, hey, these guys we're really going to do whatever we can to create packages to get these guys opportunities?
Okay. So that's the great skeptical / cynical question.
Yeah, of course.
Bishop? No.
Yeah.
Bishop is real. Samari Matthews? No. That's real. Who's the 3rd? Justin Atkinson? Not sure, but I think that's real. And then Cooper is the one that you have to question. Okay, and here's why. Because we do have some data points on this, Connor. And chat, I want to hear your thoughts. When Jonathan Brooks finally had his opportunity and the mantle was passed to him, who was the starting running back when the Texas Longhorns took the field in 2023?
Cedric Baxter, final answer.
Cedric Baxter, final answer.
And that was one of the funniest ones because all the fans unanimously were like, huh? Like there was no camps. Like everyone was confused.
Why was he starting?
Because he was needed to start. He was Choice's guy, and then the money was right, probably.
He was being paid as a starter? So he started.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that he was going to be the guy that got 18 carries in the game. Brooks might have gotten the load, but we had to fix that one. Baxter also got hurt, which helped, but it was pretty obvious who the better running back was very quickly, right?
Very quickly.
And that was a business decision. I don't agree with it. I don't like it, but that's the reality of what happened. So,
But also now too, it's like everyone's getting paid now. That was like
that is
Baxter
the
was
thing.
the first guy
So
getting
that's
paid.
the counterpoint, Connor. That's
Yeah.
the counterpoint. It doesn't matter that he's a $1 million freshman, Derek Cooper, because we got a couple 1 million dudes next to him in the backfield.
Right.
Malik Brown and Hollywood Smothers. So I tend to think that this is real. However, what he's seeing and doing in practices, sometimes against base defenses, it's going to look different when he gets in a game and people are running junk defenses. People are showing up where they're not supposed to in the hole. He's full of adrenaline, so he's pressing the hole faster than he should, running in the back of his offensive lineman. Like freshman bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Some guys just aren't freshmen when they come on campus, and running back is your most likely thing where that can happen, right? We've had those guys before, the Ricky Williams of the world, who just show up and you're like, this guy's starting and he's going to be the bell cow, right? But more often there is an adjustment period. We're going to have to see, but I suspect that Derek Cooper will come on later in the year and they'll probably go with the veterans early. That's my sense. Now, is it possible that Derek Cooper goes out there in the fourth quarter against a tired Texas State and runs wild? Sure. But I think the early important games, Ohio State, Oklahoma, even our SEC home opener, Tennessee in late September, I think it's going to be a lot of Malik Brown, 1A, and Smothers, 1B. But Cooper, man, I mean, I think it's real. I think
these reviews are glowing, dude.
Yeah.
And they're like bordering on hyperbole, which I don't even know why. They're not doing that for other players. So it's like, and they've said these kind of things before, but it's like he's getting compared to like elite all-timer running backs in college, and then we're hearing Heisman in his future. Like,
yeah, we gotta like chill on
that. And so it's like, and Eric's done a good job. Eric reports it like, hey, I'm just telling you what I'm not saying. So Eric even is like, man, that's a lot. But
yeah, Eric has a look of like mild trauma as he reports.
Yeah.
What I'm being told, and he's got like the hands up. Like,
yeah. And so it's that regard. But we've just heard it like, it'd be different if I heard it before spring and then didn't hear about him again. But if it's like we've heard it like every other practice, we've heard it across networks. Like it's been pretty intense. So
well, and here's why there is reservation. So actually, I loved Samari Matthews when we got him. Like I was glowing. I remember me and Charlie were both like, dude, this guy's awesome. Like, and I love those guys. There's like a type, like there's a cliched type of dude from the deep South who's like tall, skinny. You could tell he's not like eating enough food. He's not like lifting. He's not like, because we're all in like Texas bred, and we're used to like kids having private trainers in 8th grade.
Kids being overdeveloped.
But just understand that there's a whole breed of dudes out there in the deep South, in South Carolina, back roads of Virginia, back roads of Georgia. And dude, these guys aren't getting 3 meals a day. They're not really lifting weights, but they all have a certain frame and a certain look and a certain type of quickness. It's not even like speed. It's not even like 40 time. It's this crazy reactive quickness, super long arms. Like it's just a whole type. And when you see it on film, you're like, that's that guy.
Yep.
We've got some of those guys in East Texas, but they're increasingly rare in the state of Texas. But they're all over Florida. They're all over South Carolina. They're all over back roads, Virginia, right? I mean, Virginia Tech built a whole program on those guys with Beamer, right? Penn State got into those dudes, right? And once you see it, you're like, that's it. Jermaine Bishop, just you see him move around like he's on roller skates, and you're like, and you see his body control and his hands. Because usually that guy's that athletic, like Jermaine Bishop, don't really have good hands. They don't know how to run routes. He's like an elite route runner. for his
Yeah,
stage.
he's awesome. Yeah,
He has
great.
amazing hands. Like he gets it. So if you want to put money on a Malachi Tony breakout, that's the freshman that I'm looking at for college football right now. And that's with a crowded, talented receiver room.
Yeah. Cade and Samari have similar builds and similar physical traits, but
Yeah.
it is that tall, lean guy. You're right. I never thought of it that way, but there is like an archetype and a look and an aesthetic to them.
Well, and like you'll see them at a combine and they won't even test well.
Yeah.
Because they've never practiced any of the drills.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people realize how much of this is gamed.
Yep.
You know, or like they'll have them bench out. Right. I think at high school they bench 185. Like, how many times can you do it? And they'll do it like twice and they'll like be struggling. You're like, oh, this isn't good. That dude will be benching 315 in 6 months if you just feed him and like put him in a real weight program. Like, I've just seen this dude a million times. And so Cortland Guillory for OU is kind of that guy. So it's just, you know what they look like when you see them. And increasingly, you've got to look in sort of the back roads deep south to find them because everyone else is getting suburban Atlanta is the same as suburban Dallas in that regard.
Yeah. So we talked Cooper. My next question is running back pecking order. I thought you answered that. So to me, it feels like it's going to be 1A, 1B, like you said. Smothers more of an inside runner from the reports what we heard. That also kind of matches just what my breakdown on tape of him. I thought he was the most patient and understanding of that kind of stuff. He had to bounce it outside a ton because his O-line sucked. But I thought inside runner for him. And then Raleek Brown has gotten really good marks as well. So at first I thought it was not going to be 1A, 1B. I thought it was going to be 1 and then Raleek Brown 2 and then Cooper 3. But I do think it's going to be situationally 1A, 1B with those two guys.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have some stat lines for Brown or Smothers or Cooper. 3 carries, 9 yards. And then the next week, it's 14 carries, 117 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And everyone's going to be like, why don't we use him? I'm like, just wait. It's gonna go week to week. It's going to be hot hand. It's going to be who happened to get the perfectly blocked inside zone play that went for 60. Like, and any 3 would have delivered the payload on it. It's just who was in at that time, right?
Yeah.
And so we're just going to do that. We're going to play matchups, and at the end of the year, we'll kind of know who the guy is. But I just think we're not going to have like this perfectly divided labor force. I think it's going to be hot hand for that week. And you just got to keep the other guys engaged because they can get all pissed off. Like, I didn't get my touches, right? It's like a basketball player didn't get his shots up, right?
Yeah. Heard anything about James Simon? We'll see if from Paul's people, if he did. I haven't heard much about him through the reports. We talked about him a little bit yesterday in the live with Eric. They like him. I mean, there's a reason why they retained him.
It's exactly that. They like him. There's a reason they retained him. They didn't think he was quite ready to like be the guy and take the workload. And they were not necessarily counting on getting Smothers. But then when he became available and we could afford it, and because a lot of this is, remember, we've got a budget, and that budget isn't just dedicated to the running back. There's like a floating budget as well, which is, hey, it doesn't look like we're going to get this guy at guard. So let's go down a level to Lawrence Seymour. He wants $600K. Okay, we can afford that. We've got an extra million. We got an extra 1.1 million. Do we want to get Smothers? And they're like, yeah, it's not going to hurt us. Like, let's go get him. So, because their thinking is, all right, Raleek Brown sprains his ankle in game 2. And he's gimpy for 5 weeks. What do we do? Now it's Derek Cooper. Like, let's go get the veteran running back, and now we're done here in the room, right? So that's kind of what happened. It's not that like they're disappointed in Simon. I think they like him, and I think he's a guy that they want to retain if they can.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to switch the order on one of these things. Let's start with this. Odds Muschamp's defense hits the ground running. He has remarkable talent over there. But do we see an adjustment phase? Do we, the first 4 weeks are sketchy? Or is it the first year is not great and year 2? What are your thoughts on
our adjustment phase is going to be the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Tennessee Volunteers. Yeah. Like, we'll figure it out real quick. So we're going to be playing 2 extreme offenses. One is extreme in that the level of talent that they put out there stresses you, not so much the schemes. And then the Tennessee extreme is the scheme is the stress, although the talent is good at wide receiver. We don't know about the running backs. And by the way, they had a spring game, and the Tennessee defense kind of dominated, which is not typical in a Tennessee spring game. So
Right. It's an offensive program, right?
could be Jim Knowles, could be Tennessee's quarterback ain't real good. So
I also don't know how much of we're going to see. Ryan Nelson says too, I worry about the OSU game. I don't know how much we're going to see the man match side of Muschamp during that game. Because there's like a coaching ego that's like, look, we've been working on this all spring, man match. It's like, let's go see if it works for Jeremiah Smith. If it works, you're a damn genius. If it doesn't, so it's like, I don't know if we're going to be in that week far more conservative. And we keep saying Muschamp is like aggressive in certain ways. He's not like an idiot. And so I want to see what he'll do versus Smith if he does try to do the man match stuff, or if he ends up shading Smith.
people confuse the disposition of the defensive coordinator with the aggression of the defense.
Right.
Muschamp plays 3-man fronts and rushes 3 all the time.
All the time.
Hate to break it to y'all.
And they're built, they're a saving tree. They're built from the back end. They're all about coverage. They put the fronts in to make things make sense, but they're coverage minded first. They want to protect against the pass first. So yeah, it's a good point, Paul, because the weirdest part is to Texas fans, we feel like Georgia is super aggressive, but going through everything with Pack is like, no, they're obsessed with the little ways they can get beat. They're not actually now on third down. They do fun stuff. And that's how it feels. But they're not just crazy, like cover zero blitz monsters. Everyone's manned up. They have tons of rules to avoid getting beaten in that regard. So we'll see. That's what we'll see about the Muschamp defense. And then cue the typical how bad is the O-line this season. I actually didn't put O-line on the list because I feel like we beat that to death. And that's one of the ones that's like, we'll have to see because Seymour's not here and Goosby's hurt. So we can't even get a read, really.
It will be better.
Yeah. And we saw what happened when we just got to like not awful towards the end of the season, what Arch was able to do. So it's
I mean, Arch is able to help these guys a lot if they'll just give them a chance.
Yeah.
He'll help. He manipulates the pocket very well. So, not just as a pure runner, but I mean, just kind of moving around. And I just don't think people. I mean, dude, you guys got to all watch the deep dive on this channel, especially in season, because Ian and I were on our offensive line issues early. When people were arguing with me, we actually played our yards per carry against Ohio State were quite good. And I'm like, fundamentally, this is not good, and we better fix this real fast. And then UTEP happened, and then everyone shut up. And it was like, oh, what's the deal with
Ohio State was rough because we were like, the O-line's not good, and our running backs are Jags. And everybody was like, you guys are idiots. Look at our yards. And then the whole thing was, of course, our running backs couldn't get any yards. They had Caleb Downs. Whether Caleb Downs was even on that side of the field when the run happened. But yeah.
By the way, the next week he missed 3 tackles. That's the funny part.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, we did not have a fun week with the fans. They were mad at us for pointing that out. But yeah, luckily UTEP fixed that very quick. Okay, but I will talk about this part of offensive line, the penalties. The latest practice report is that the penalties were fine, which is good. But there was a point I was telling Eric, I was like, at some point, we're not solving penalties. We are practicing them because we have had them every single practice and multiple. And if you're just doing it every practice, you're not solving it, man. You're literally integrating it into the offense. So the big thing is going to be penalties. We won't know that until the big moments. But with this offensive line, I think they're undisciplined in that regard, but I also think the system incentivizes it. We know that teams that motion more get more false starts because you're having this timing-based offense where the wide receiver is disappearing behind you and you're trying to assume where he would be in space, where Arch is going to clap and get the ball. So that's going to cause it. And then teams learn to late shift on us. That'll cause it, all these things. So I think it's a system issue, but also just a coaching issue. We'll see.
It is ultimately a coaching issue, a discipline issue, because who shifts more than anyone pre-snap? Service academies.
That's true.
I mean,
That's
there's a dude running before the ball snapped every play. And they do these big, like 3 dudes on one side and they sprint over to the other side right before the snap. I mean, so ultimately it's player discipline. You got to hold your water. But there's also a reason those guys are at service academies, right? I mean,
But it's
they
like, dude,
obviously
if
have
we
some discipline.
just don't shoot ourselves in the foot, this team is talented enough to do great things. And it's just that's what'll kill me, because that's the only thing that can stop a team that's that talented is when they shoot themselves in the foot. So if we can just get that to average and not, bottom 100th in the country like it has been the past couple of years, man, it'll make all the difference in the world.
Woodcrest has the ultimate off-season question.
The run it up.
Yes. You want to throw
If
that
the
out?
opportunity presents itself, would you run it up on Ohio State?
We could be up 21-0 in the first quarter, and we're going to win by 4, dude.
I know.
All right.
But it's also but that's what bothered me last year.
This is such a April question. I love it.
But it's like I'm rolling with you, Woodcrest. Don't worry, I'll defend your honor here, dude. So one thing that bothered me that Sark said in the postseason last year, when everyone was politicking to get in the playoffs, he took a shot at Cristobal, and he was like, "I guess we should just throw fades late in the game." And I was like, "Yes, Sark, you should." Like the committee is that dumb. Like running up, and also you learned that lesson yourself when you ran up score on Tech and you ran up score on Oklahoma State when we got in the playoffs. Like, this lesson, perception matters. And so I just didn't like that he said that, because I'm like, clearly we know we're not dealing with sophisticated football minds that are selecting these things. So absolutely, dude, fans see you beat Ohio State by 25 points, whether it's 2 touchdowns at the end, they didn't watch. So it's like, you got to do it. But historically, as soon as we have a magic number, it's actually not 21, Paul, it's 17. When we get up 17, the offense just kind of shuts off.
Yeah.
And if we do it in the first quarter, that means the next 3 quarters will have no offense. But it does drive me nuts that Sark doesn't all gas, no breaks that, because the charlatans need that concrete number.
Yeah, I'm for gaming the system when you can. And, if you've got someone down, you can be classy and win 38-10, or you can pour it on. And the truth is, the committee is moved by teams that pour it on. And that's just the reality. And I think it's stupid. I think it's bad for sportsmanship.
So do I.
But it is the reality. Those guys are pinheads, and they just look at the score.
Yep. Now, do I think we're going to have the opportunity to do that against Ohio State? Probably not. But if it is presented, go ahead and do it. Hey, Paul, who's the best man to get your mortgages from?
That man is Gabe Winslow. You can reach him at 832-557-1095. Hey, it's spring. It's time to go look for your house. It's time to move, get everything going this summer. Let's get a jump on it. Let's go get pre-qualified with Gabe Winslow, and let's get this guy on your side, already looking at your financial situation, getting all of your ducks in a row. So when you do find that house, you can immediately jump on it, immediately get qualified, and close well before you should, and have everything ready to go. That's the quality that you can expect with a guy like Gabe. He's got hundreds of raving Google reviews. He's got a bunch of great feedback every time we do this, and people on Inside Texas will randomly just chime in and be like, Gabe's the GOAT. The dude saved my life. I had a complex, financial situation. No mortgage guy said they could make it work. He made it work in spades and got my dream house. So this guy's on your side. He's a Texas alum. He's really good at what he does. 832-557-1095.
Thank you, Gabe. You're the man. Now we will transition into our Oklahoma Sooners portion of the broadcast. Paul has a cool stock up, stock down series where he shows teams that he thinks will improve or not improve. Let's see about the Oklahoma Sooners and what he thinks they will do. Paul, let's set the scene here as you beautifully do early on in this article. What do they need to know?
Beautifully do. Setting the scene. No one does it better. So this is the culmination of my series. So I've been doing this the whole spring. And basically, OU had a big rebound from a bad 2024. They needed it. I think Venables would have been out if they'd had another bad year back-to-back. But that renaissance was kind of short-lived because they got in the playoff, and we quickly realized that they were the 10th best team in the playoff out of 12, right? I'm assuming they're better than James Madison and Tulane. But They get a 17-point lead at home. Speaking of 17-point leads, and Alabama, which was running on fumes, that team was dying before that game.
Yeah.
Beats them by 10. And ultimately, Sooner fans feel like it was a successful season. Maybe a little bit of a mirage because of the schedule and some favorable things that happened for them down the stretch. But nonetheless, a rally from a bad 2024. They really played good defense. They really were bad on offense. 54th in the country in advanced statistics and on offense. A lot of that, people blame Mateer. I get it. His supporting cast was terrible.
Yep.
Bad O-line. One receiver, Isaiah Satania, and sort of jag running backs. Then the worst tight end room in the Big 12. I mean, sorry, probably the Big 12 too. But
Big 12 included.
So what did they do? Well, Jim Nagy got to work, and they have markedly upgraded their skill talent. They have good receivers now from the transfer portal. We even may be familiar with one of them, Parker Livingston, but he's going to be their number 3 option. They got a good guy from Virginia. Of course, they returned Isaiah Satania. The guy they got from Virginia and Satania are both 23-year-olds. So we've shown the value of having veteran good players in college football, and I think that's going to help Mateer, who's also a veteran. And their offensive line is getting better. So they finally are starting to hit in recruiting. For a while, they were missing in recruiting and then having to go hit the portal and try to make it work, and they were not making it work. They've got some guys that have hit. Fasusi, Eddie Pierre-Louis, Ryan Foji. These guys are good. Then they have a base of guys that are solid. They don't have great depth. They're kind of like us. But I think this is going to be their best O-line in a while, which is not saying much, but it's saying something. I think this offense is going to go from somewhere ranked in the 50s to probably in the 20s. That's my opinion.
I believe you.
What do you guys think of the chat? Do you think that's reasonable, or is Mateer terrible? LOL.
Mateer got humbled, and if he takes those lessons, he'll be much more dynamic. But he can't just play backyard ball like he was at Washington State. He learned that. He learned that it brought injury. He learned that it brought interceptions and kind of head-scratching moments. We all said that. We said he threw dumb picks at Washington State. Not just like DB made a nice play. It's like, why would you ever throw that type of stuff? And he plays a lot of cool guy ball, jumping up in the air when it's unnecessary, exposing himself to hits that are unnecessary. But if you watch his interviews as the year went on, it's actually a little bit of a bummer. He was pretty you can tell he's down on himself, but he was taking good accountability. There wasn't a lot of excuse making. Another year older. Of course, he has talent. So if he can just cut out the dumb part of his football diet, I think he could have a healthy season.
Yeah, and I think you have to evaluate him as a college quarterback. So there's a tendency for sort of people to get into NFL draft Twitter mode. And they're like, well, these are Mateer's his drawbacks. It's like, well, he's playing college. So
I have a problem with that.
His running ability is actually very useful. The fact that he weighs 220 and he's really built means he can absorb hits. Like, there's a Sam Ehlinger element to Mateer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to evaluate him as, if you improve his supporting cast, is he an effective college quarterback? I think so. I mean, Marcel Reed put up pretty gaudy statistics with a very good supporting cast.
Correct.
And then he ran into a couple of real defenses and he didn't look so good. But I can see a similar thing with Mateer, where there's not going to be this struggle on every down, even against average defenses. So that's where upgrading them is going to help. And I think you have to judge him as an effective college quarterback, not an NFL draft prospect.
Yeah, and like I said, I can have that problem because I almost default to NFL intangibles with quarterbacks. If he has an O-line that he doesn't feel he needs to take off and start doing backflips, that'll help. He might still run. He has a little bit of that in him. But if he's not forced to feel pressure all the time and then start doing weird stuff. Number two, if he's not their entire red zone offense in the run game, meaning that he's not having to take zone reads and a running back can actually take the pressure off him, that helps. And then wide receivers that are running the right routes. And then more importantly, can they do yak? Can he throw something short? Like that was Marcel Reed when I discovered what percentage of his yards were yak. And it was an insanely high number, meaning he wasn't doing a lot of the passing. It was his receivers maximizing. they can get that and calm him down, then I think you'll see the more fun side of him, and less of the frustrating side. Sugar Poppy, thank you, man. Isn't most of the Mateer height coming from beating a few cupcakes in Michigan? He got injured after that, and it was the excuse the rest of the year.
So he had Schrodinger's thumb. Depending on the feeling of the play-by-play announcer, the color announcer, within the same game, by the way, the thumb was a non-issue, and the thumb was a crippling wound that no human being could possibly throw a spiral with. And it would vary game to game, and it would vary within games.
I was going to say, if the pass was completed, his thumb was great. If it was not completed, then his thumb was injured.
Yeah, he had Schrodinger's thumb. It existed in multiple states at once. And, hopefully that physics problem has been resolved for them, or hopefully not.
Yeah. The hype as far as like Heisman, I agree, is too much. And of course, anything from the OU side, there was a lot of like, is this Baker Mayfield? So like that level of hype for sure was wrong. But can he be a solid quarterback that can get them some wins and be above average, not just solid? Yeah, I think that's reasonable with a better crew around him, and he matures as a player and understands the SEC. You can't just do whatever you want.
I think a pretty good comp for him is Brendan Sorsby, who's going to be the quarterback at Tech, the transfer from Cincinnati. You're going to, by the way, that's not a bad, like, if you want to do a dark horse Heisman deal for $1 or something, that's not a bad pick, Brendan Sorsby, because Heisman voters are dumber than the playoff committee. And if you put up a bunch of stats, they don't care if it's in the Big 12, as long as you're undefeated.
Correct. Reed versus Mateer. I would go with both with good supporting cast. I would go with Mateer.
I would trade both and get Arch Manning.
All right, we're not doing that.
I just did it. And you know what?
Block. Trade block.
What I can and can't do. I just did it, and you can't.
The trade is blocked. Chat, let them know. It's a block
Chat
trade.
is on my
it's
side.
Not legal.
They are pro Paul and they're anti Connor. This chat's tired.
What was funny is we heard from A&M's camp. They were like, Reed is looking super athletic, and I'm like, that's not the problem.
We're well aware that he's very athletic.
Yeah, great. It's great that he looks fast. It's like that's not the problem there. And also, where's your O-line? What receivers are you going to have? How's your running back? Reed was in a great supportive system last year. Whenever he had to survive on true quarterbacking, he failed miserably. So I don't care about how fast he looks in practice. What are his reads? How's he handling pressure? Is he running when he doesn't need to? If I hear those things out of A&M's camp, I would feel more nervous. But I'm just hearing that he looks fast. So great.
I think a certain college football analyst prognosticator said on this here channel, if you make Marcel Reed reset to his left, he doesn't come to earth. He is bad. He's a bad quarterback. And if you notice, the Texas game plan was repeatedly to make him reset left, and Ethan Burke was basically playing like contain on the other side. So he couldn't just squirt out and then be like a good athlete and throw the ball on the run, like outside, the pocket.
Yep.
We kept him in the pocket and made him reset left over and over and over, and he just fell apart. And then eventually when the game got on his shoulders, when we had the lead, that's when he started throwing picks because he just couldn't see the field. Like, I mean, I don't mean he's getting obscured. You can't see it. I mean, he doesn't see it. And, that was obvious. So if I was A&M, by the way, they're also now absent Colin Klein. They promoted a wide receiver coach to OC. So there's a big difference. Did he pick up the offense? Yes, that wide receiver. I would pick up their offense if I sat in on their meetings. Do you want to hand me the clipboard and the headset and say, call a college football game? That's a different animal, man.
Yeah. Being in the fight is very different.
We're going to see.
Yeah. And then the big thing, a lesson that A&M fans learned, when I watched that South Carolina game, the A&M fans and the dumb media took away from it the comeback. And I was like, first off, it's like an abusive spouse situation. It's like he took you to the edge of the cliff and he pulled you back and you thanked him for pulling you back. It's like he brought you to the edge of the cliff. They didn't pay attention to Reed's floor in that game and how badly he can play. They took away from it that he's like a great leader and can come back. Learn that lesson. If your quarterback shows you what they're capable of, high and low, pay attention to the low a little bit more at times. All right, Paul. We had the offense. We think the stock is going to be up. You said 50th in FEI to probably somewhere in the top 20. Okay. Now, what about the defense? Because the defense is consistently really good.
Yeah, they are. So if you look at advanced statistics, the last 3 years, their defensive ratings are 5, 7, 15. I don't think Brent Venables, the way he recruits, the way he develops, and the way he coaches, I don't think they can fall out of the top 15 nationally. They did the first year he took over, but they stunk. Yeah. They didn't have good personnel. So I think he's got good enough personnel. I love their defensive tackles. I think Stone is really good, and I like the guy from IMG. The other guy, was it Jaden Jackson?
Mm-hmm. We wanted Jaden Jackson.
Yeah, I like both players a lot. I think they do a lot for that defense. Edge, they're going to miss R. Mason Thomas. However, they've got dudes out there like former 5 stars, high 4 stars, guys with pedigree. They've got the frames, the bodies. They just haven't produced. That scheme is very edge friendly. Mm-hmm. It manufactures stats for those edges. So if they can get a good compliment to Taylor Ween, or is it Wine or Ween?
Whatever you like, man.
I'm going to call him Ween because it sounds like Weenie. They get a good compliment to him. They're fine up front. They're good to go. They'll be one of the better fronts in the SEC. And then they got that guy Cole Sullivan from Michigan, a Mike linebacker, smart player, mobile, kind of long. Dude, when Venables looked at the portal and Nagy looked at the portal, they were like, that's Danny Stutzman. Let's go get him. He might not be as good as Stutzman, but he's going to be next to Kip Lewis. Kip Lewis has been starting for them for forever. He's a good guy. He can run. I think they're good. I don't think Heineke's that good. Someone's mentioning Heineke in the chat. He is not approved to return for an extra year. They're appealing that. I don't think Heineke's that good. If you watched him against Texas, he was not relevant. And
I think Ian loves him. Is that the player that Ian loves?
That's the other guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, that's the edge.
That's the edge.
The big white edge.
Yeah.
You're confusing your whites, Connor.
Damn.
And then I think the interesting upside for this defense is at corner. Cortland Guillory and Bowen on the other side, Eli Bowen. So Bowen is undersized, but plays bigger than he is. And then Cortland Guillory started as a true freshman in the SEC. Yes, he committed a lot of PIs, but that guy is very talented. So I think that's the real upside of their defense. And I like the other Bowen brother, Peyton Bowen at safety. They're kind of like us. They don't have a lot of safety depth. So, and they don't have a lot of depth overall on defense.
Right.
So they need to stay healthy. And Venables needs to chill out with some of his preseason grinder stuff. I know it makes the team tougher, but he loses players that way. And I think they need all their guys healthy. So he's got to ride a fine line there, both this spring and this fall.
Also, fun fact, Cam Coleman absolutely torched these corners. If Jackson Arnold could have just got the ball to him 2 times more, and then OU didn't put on all their gamesmanship. But I hope, even if they do man up, I like our odds there because we can actually throw the fade now. So, in theory.
Yeah, I mean, the big issue OU has is their schedule got upgraded a little bit. Looks like it on paper. So, at Georgia, Texas neutral. That's going to be a problem for them. And then they play A&M, they play Ole Miss. They are, they've got a bunch of games like that. At Michigan, I think Michigan's they don't look very good to me, but we'll see.
Did you see Bryce Underwood's backwards pass to Jamie French, though?
I did. I mean, to me, that means that they're probably going to go 12-0.
But that also means to me is it looks like Jamie French is starting automatically. And I like French, so it's not just like he transferred. I hate him now. But just kind of insta start like that, too, just shows that the wide receiver room is not super stacked.
French would have been struggling for snaps at Texas.
Right.
He's going to be their number 2 receiver.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound good to me.
Yep.
So
also, he got sacked on that play, by the way. But the guy, just so everyone knows, he got sacked.
So, yeah, I think I think OU is going to get tested. I think it's going to be probably Venables' best team overall because the offense is going to go up. But they might go 9-3 or 8-4 if they just have a couple of bad breaks.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you see the same record, better team situation, or do you think it's just going to be pure, like, better 10-win type of thing?
They could win 10. I mean, they've got to have some stuff come together, but they look kind of 9-3 to me.
Yeah. I do kind of want to play them at full health, even though it's fun to just run up, just because they do have like legitimate gripes on why we've beat their ass several times. So it's just like I just want one like clean W that they don't have. Like, well, our quarterback was hobbled or whatever.
Oh, I mean, whatever.
I know, but it's like they have it. They technically have it in the pocket. I just don't even want them to have it in the back pocket.
Yeah, the other thing too is if our offensive line's upgraded, Georgia is another SEC team that's going to have a good O-line. That's kind of a problem for Venables because he really feasts on college O-line play, all that movement. And if you have a plan for them, which we always have a plan, even when our O-line's bad, if you have a plan for them and you have a good O-line and you can run the ball like Georgia can, that trip to Georgia may not be a lot of fun for them.
Yeah. SEC, man. It's going to be fun. Everybody head over to Inside Texas right now. Spring sale, 50% off. Our board on 3 rivals all together. Link in the description. We would love to absolutely see you over there. Everyone stay locked in for the rest of the shows coming at you. And this was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Goodbye, everyone.